Hi, I'm Fran Langham, Global Head of Demand Gen at Cognism. I'm here with Liam, VP of Marketing, and we're going to talk to you about creating great content for your eBooks. So, firstly, I just want to talk a little bit about why it's important to focus on quality content versus what we spoke about in episode 1, which was like this broad brush approach to your ebook.
Yeah, because so we always want to focus on quality and giving value to the audience. Providing value creates that trust and connection between you and your audience and your prospects, which then obviously builds your brand and creates sort of demand within that audience. That value means that people keep coming back as well. They want to learn from you. They associate you with positive thoughts and like learning about your industry in that segment, which then puts you in the best place for when they're thinking about looking for solutions within that segment too. And then with those broad brushes as well, is like we were never really creating, as we were saying before, content that was for the audience. We were creating content maybe as a lead magnet to get leads rather than creating demand. Mm-hmm. So it's about flipping that on its head and actually creating content for the audience and thinking about the customer first.
Definitely. So I guess like instead of casting this wide net of content applicable to all, we're actually focusing on one specific persona, mm-hmm. and you're saying like by making it valuable, it's almost making you a lot more memorable, which is obviously what every brand wants. Okay, great. So we know that quality is super important when creating the ebook, but where would you even get started with the team? What's the first thing you should do in the content planning phase?
Yes, I think importantly, before maybe this like step has been missed, but is actually going out and like speaking to the audience that you're actually going to be writing the content for, and getting feedback from them about what they actually want to hear about, like the things that will actually make a measurable impact and difference to their day and them at work. So that could be what are the things that they would actually like to see like original research on, or like subject matter experts' opinion on. Who are the subject matter experts that they listen to and like respect and like follow content on, because then maybe you could get them to provide some content for the ebook in that way, and just really finding out so you can really drive value in the ebook where it is most needed and most wanted. And you can do these. You don't have to go out and have individual conversations with all of your customers and prospects. There are loads of different ways that you can actually get that information, find out where people are getting their information from, what their pain points are, to be able to create an ebook for it. You can use tools like Winter, which we use, which is a customer survey tool where you can get valuable feedback from your target audience. Or you can listen to Gong calls, get information from there, and also speak to customers obviously directly in customer calls or joining disco calls, for example.
Great, makes sense. You touched on the subject matter expert piece. So we utilise subject matter experts quite heavily at Cognism. I think they are super important, and I'd like to just dive into that a little bit about what they are for people that might not know, and how you can utilise them. Just to really set the scene, I know I've previously worked in companies where the marketing content team is responsible for the ebook, so they produce that ebook. So a lot of it is like surface level research, get the ebook out there as fast as possible. And I know since being at Cognism, like the subject matter expert piece adds that deeper layer. So really, like, what is a subject matter expert? Like, why would we use one, and how do they sort of add that value?
So a subject matter expert is, as it is in the name, an expert on the subject matter that you're writing about or talking about. Often they'll have they might be an influencer as well as a subject matter expert, and therefore hold a real audience that like listens to them and loves what they've got to say and their point of view. And as you were saying, the reason why we want to get subject matter experts involved in the production and creation of our ebooks is because that they are what then gives the ebook value. They give it authority. They have an audience of people who want to hear from them in the first place, as well as having the authority to actually talk on that topic, and maybe taking what we've seen before, when ebooks were created by content managers. They were writing about topics that they don't necessarily have the authority to speak on, and then it loses the value from that ebook. Is then lost, because people want to hear from the people that they respect, and are keen to, and who maybe they have an opinion or knowledge that person then is really loves and is envious of, and wants to learn more from. So getting subject matter experts in gives you that authority. You can get exclusive content from them. You can create that pull and value that people are looking for from the content to actually to learn from it and develop.
Great, makes sense. So my next question is, how do you go about finding these wonderful subject matter experts?
And I think that goes back to what I was saying before, when you speak to your customers, mm-hmm. they will tell you. You can say, who do you respect in the industry? Where do you get your information from? And they'll point you right in the direction of those subject matter experts. And we've done a lot of just being able to, through that and through the industry, find those people, and then you can often reach out, network with them on LinkedIn. That's sort of a super basic way, but then there's other times where those subject matter experts may be on the event circuit, turning up to events as well, and you can find them that way.
Excellent. And I guess as well for them, the advantage is that they're talking about a topic they know a lot about, they're knowledgeable, they know they want to provide that value, but then also it's exposure for them as you're featuring them in this exclusive ebook, or you're promoting them, especially if you are running that ebook in multiple formats as well. That's mm-hmm. A lot of coverage for them, just in terms of their own exposure. So it can be that real win-win, which I think is super good.
Yeah, absolutely.
On that, when we're thinking about formats, so we spoke about in episode 1 that we want to get away as much as possible from 100-page PDF download. What kind of formats should we be looking at for ebooks? If we're moving out of that PDF mindset, mm-hmm. what formats? But then, what I also find a little bit tricky is how many, how much, because you can kind of do every format possible, but mm-hmm. There are obviously time constraints. People want to get that ebook out there. So, what would it look like, do you mm-hmm. think?
I think, obviously, if you have unlimited time and resource, then you could create a video series of your ebook. You could write the whole thing. You could create a podcast about it. You could create a short play or musical. You could do whatever, but like you said, no one has the time for it. It's difficult, so you kind of need to prioritize. And I think that's where you think about how you make the ebook as interactive as possible. So maybe there are sections that you link back to a podcast that you've chatted with a subject matter expert on that particular section about, and they're quoted throughout. There you go. Then you've got an audio element in it mm-hmm. without making a complete audio book out of it. There may be videos that you slot in, small snippets that you've done to maybe as extra explainers for something if it's helped with visual explanations and animations, and you can slot those sort of things in where they would be interactive and helpful. And then maybe that you could run other elements to it, that there's if you're demonstrating something through a live event, and have a recording of that in there as well, and add other interactive things in. So I think it's really about thinking about, if someone was reading this ebook, how can I make it engaging, fun? How can I make the bits pop that need to pop? So, and that could happen you could do that through short videos or audio sections, without having to do the whole thing mm-hmm. As in multiple different formats.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think as well, you spoke about snippeting up the content, or putting it in short videos, for example. I'm thinking on that, I think that's great to test almost what topics resonate the most. So I know previously, when we've released ebooks, we've done it by chapter. Some of those chapters have had like video, some of them have been a link back to a podcast, but we can kind of almost track what's resonating the most, and it kind of shows what you potentially need to double down on for the next ebook, or even just for like the next piece of content. So I think that's like really effective. What about, just to round this off, what about exclusive content? So do you think we should be looking at, when companies are looking to produce an ebook, should we be looking at exclusive like templates and things like that, just to kind of add even more value? How could we go about that?
Yeah, I think any bits of like exclusive content, exclusivity obviously helps drive interest. It gives you like, I think original pieces of research are really interesting. Template giveaways that like, again, are like an original point of view or thought that people will get instant value out of, and like pull people into that content and really drive like interest and value for it. And you can use those pieces of like exclusive content as like gated upgrades if you want as well. So then you can actually pull people in with the main ebook and then upgrade the exclusive content to generate leads if that's a target and you need to hit MQLs in that way. So that's how I would use that. It's like a real final pull, like, and that's a great way of like of collecting leads if you need to gate it and you need to generate leads out of the ebook.
Okay, amazing, makes sense. So I guess to summarise around when thinking about content, so from the start, you've got to take a step back, speak to customers, like speak to your audience, like just really understand what their pain points are, right? Like what their needs are. And I think that's a thing that previously companies do make the mistake of, they write for the company, like what like what's the agenda, like what are our goals, and it's almost like they write from that mindset instead of like the audience mindset. So I think like that definitely makes sense. Thinking about multiple formats, being value led all of the way through, I think would be good. And then as you said, that exclusivity, so that upgrade piece can really like strengthen it and I guess increase that perceived value and like make it more sought after. For sure.
Precisely.
Amazing. Okay, well, thank you. And episode 3, we're going to talk to you about how you should be distributing your ebook once that content is ready.